Pack your things and leave this house before I come back." The words shattered the quiet morning like thunder. Ken's voice was loud, sharp, and cruel, laced with both anger and mockery. Mirror stood frozen near the kitchen doorway, a cup of warm tea trembling in her hands. The sun had just risen, pouring gentle light across the tiled floor, but his voice swallowed every trace of peace in the room. "Please do not forget to like and subscribe for more African folktales. I'm bringing my new wife here today," he continued, adjusting his tie with careless confidence. "So don't be here when I return." Mirror didn't move. She didn't sip the tea. She didn't blink. Ken scoffed. "Why are you standing like that?" he snapped. "Did you hear me, or should I scream louder?" Still nothing. He laughed, shaking his head. "You've always been slow. Look at you, standing there like a useless statue." Mirror slowly lowered the cup and placed it on the table. The sound was soft, controlled. "I'm tired of this life," Ken went on, pacing the room. "Coming home every day to the same woman. A woman who eats, sleeps, and does nothing else." He stopped in front of her, looked her up and down. "You've gained so much weight. This isn't the woman I married." The house remained silent. "An ambition?" he added, waving a dismissive hand. "Any woman can cook and clean. You have no goals. No vision." He waited. "Aren't you going to beg?" he demanded. "Aren't you going to ask where you'll go?" Mirror lifted her eyes. Then she laughed. Not loudly. Not mockingly. Just calm. Too calm. The sound floated in the air, unsettling and out of place. Ken stiffened. "Why are you laughing?" he barked. "Have you lost your mind?" Mirror shook her head slowly. "No," she said softly. "I just find this interesting." Her tone made his skin crawl. "You better be gone before I come back," he warned, masking his discomfort with pride. "I'm picking her up myself. A woman who matches my level." Mirror nodded once. "All right." That single word hit harder than shouting ever could. "I'll start packing." Ken stared at her. This wasn't the reaction he expected. No tears, no screaming, no collapse. "This better not be a trick," he muttered. "Don't embarrass yourself." He grabbed his keys and stormed out. The door slammed so hard the walls trembled. Silence returned. Mirror stood still for several seconds, listening to the echo fade. Then she looked around the house. The furniture she chose, the walls she painted, the space she held together for years without thanks. Her hands shook briefly. She inhaled deeply. Then she packed. Her phone rang. She paused, glanced at the screen, and answered calmly. "Yes. Hold the meeting today. I'll give final approval later." She ended the call and placed the phone gently on the bedside table. Her face remained composed, but her eyes sharpened. This was no ordinary housewife. She folded the last dress carefully, each movement deliberate, like preparation, not escape. Sunlight caught the dust in the air, turning it gold. She remembered the first day she met Ken. His charm. His promises. His words about partnership. She remembered how everything changed. When she became pregnant, his smile faded. When her body changed, his respect disappeared. When she gave birth alone in a hospital room, he never came. She zipped the suitcase. Looking at her reflection, she whispered, almost amused, "By the time he returns, he will finally see me." She lifted the suitcase and stepped into the living room. The morning had begun with threats. It would end with truth. The front door burst open. Laughter filled the house, sharp, careless, proud. Mirror didn't turn immediately. She already knew. "Ken, slow down," a woman's voice said playfully. "You're acting like a child." He laughed. "Relax. This is my house." Mirror turned slowly. Ken stood near the doorway, confidence dripping from every movement. Beside him was a tall, polished woman in cream heels and a fitted blazer. Her smile was trained. Her eyes sharp. A woman used to winning rooms. Ken tightened his grip on her hand. "Mirror," he announced loudly. "Meet Neva, my fiancée." Neva smiled politely, until her eyes fully met Mirror's face. The smile froze. "And madam?" Ken laughed. "What kind of greeting is that?" he said, amused. "She's not your manager. She's just my soon-to-be ex-wife." Neva swallowed hard. "No, that's not possible." Ken frowned. "What are you talking about?" "This is Mirror Hale," Neva whispered. "She's the owner." The room went still. Ken laughed too loudly. "You must be confused." Mirror spoke calmly. "She isn't." His laughter died instantly. "You don't even work," he protested weakly. "I don't need to announce my work to feel important," Mirror replied. "I kept my identity private on purpose. I wanted to see people as they truly are, without fear, without favors. She stepped closer. You got your job because I approved your hire. Every promotion passed through my desk. You thought you were rising on merit. She paused. You were rising because I allowed it. Neva's knees trembled. Madam, I didn't know he was married. Mira raised her hand. Silence fell instantly. Ken, she said quietly, you insulted me in my own house. You mocked my body. You called me useless. She met his eyes. You are fired. The words crushed him. You can't do this, he stammered. You're my wife. Not for long. Neva stood up, shame burning through her ambition. She looked at Ken with disgust. You lied to me. She walked out. Ken collapsed onto the couch. Mira, please. Mira picked up her suitcase. I finished packing. You told me to be gone before you returned. I followed your order. She walked toward the door. Wait. She stopped. Divorce papers will come. I'm taking full custody of our child. She paused, then added without turning. This house has always been mine. You have 2 days to leave. She stepped outside. The door closed. Inside, Ken's world collapsed. Emails flooded his phone. Access denied. Meetings canceled. Security alerts. No, 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 he whispered. He rushed outside. Mira was already walking toward a waiting car, calm, finished. Please, he shouted. We can fix this. She turned once. You meant every word, she said. You only regret them because they cost you something. She stepped into the car. The door closed. And for the first time, Ken understood. Some women don't cry when they leave. They collect evidence. And walk away with the truth. The engine started. And just like that, the woman he thought he owned drove away. Later that afternoon, Mara sat in a quiet office overlooking the city. Floor-to-ceiling glass. Soft lighting. Controlled power. The kind that didn't need to announce itself. Her assistant stood nearby, tablet in hand. Proceed with the filings, Mara said calmly. No delays. Yes, ma'am. When the door closed, Mara leaned back in her chair. She didn't feel joy at his downfall. She felt relief. Freedom. Clarity. Her phone buzzed. A message from her daughter's school. A faint smile touched her lips. I'll pick her up myself. As she walked through the office, whispers followed, but not fear, not gossip. Respect. For the first time, people weren't reacting to her silence. They understood it. At the school gate, a small girl ran straight into her arms. Mommy. Mara knelt and held her tightly. Hey, Star, she said softly. Did you have a good day? The child nodded eagerly. Can we go somewhere nice? Yes, Mara replied. Somewhere peaceful. As they drove away, Mara glanced into the rearview mirror. The past was no longer chasing her. Back at the house, Colin sat alone. The dining table held an untouched plate of food. The lights were on, but the house felt hollow, as if even the walls had withdrawn from him. Every corner carried her presence. The way she arranged things. The way she listened without interrupting. The way she carried strength without announcing it. He had called it laziness. He had called it nothing. Now it mocked him. His phone buzzed again. Termination confirmed. Access deactivated. Company vehicle scheduled for retrieval. Benefits revoked. He slammed the phone down and laughed bitterly. So this is how it ends. But it wasn't ending. It was unraveling. The next morning, sharp knocking broke his sleep. 2 men stood at the door. Vehicle retrieval. He didn't argue. He couldn't. As they drove the car away, he felt smaller than he ever had. Inside, he noticed more absences, documents missing, files cleared, the safe empty. The house was no longer his in any way that mattered. Later that afternoon, a courier delivered an envelope. Divorce papers. Custody request. Asset separation. He sank to the floor. Across the city, sunlight filled a bright kitchen. Mara stood beside her daughter, helping her pour juice into a glass. Laughter echoed, real, easy, unguarded. Mommy, are we staying here forever? The girl asked. Mara smiled. As long as we're happy. Her phone rang. A board member. Everything is moving smoothly. Your leadership, people respect it. Respect. It comes quietly when it's earned. She looked out the window. The city moved forward. So did she. That evening, Colin knocked on a door he once ignored, his brother's. The door opened slowly. What do you want? I need help, Colin whispered. His brother studied him before stepping aside. You made your choices, but you'll live with them here. For the first time, there was no pride left to defend. Days passed. News spread, not loudly but knowingly. The powerful woman who stayed silent. The man who mistook quiet for weakness. Meetings continued. Deals closed. Mara's influence expanded steadily. Meanwhile, Colin's days blurred inside a small guest room at his brother's house. He woke early each morning, staring at the ceiling, replaying her calm voice in his mind. He remembered shouting, laughing, feeling superior. Now the silence she left behind screamed louder than any argument they'd ever had. One evening, his brother sat across from him. "You never talked about your wife," he said. "You never talked about yourself." Colin swallowed. "I thought I was the prize." His brother shook his head. "That was your first mistake." There was nothing left to argue. Mara found a rhythm that felt healing. Her new home was modest but warm. No shouting. No tension. Just space. She woke early, made breakfast with her daughter, listened, really listened. At work, she spoke only when necessary. And when she did, the room paid attention. During one board meeting, a director asked carefully, "Why did you stay hidden for so long?" Mara paused. "Because power changes how people behave," she said. "I wanted honesty, not obedience." No one questioned her authority. They felt it. One afternoon, her lawyer called. "He's contesting custody." Mara closed her eyes briefly. "On what grounds?" "None that will stand." "He's desperate." She exhaled. "Proceed." This wasn't revenge. It was protection. She would never allow her daughter to grow up thinking disrespect was love. The custody hearing arrived quietly. The courtroom was cool and orderly. Mara sat upright, composed. Colin sat across from her, shoulders tense, eyes hollow. The judge spoke calmly. "Mr. Rain, you claim exclusion from your child's life." "I worked long hours," he muttered. Mara's lawyer stood. "Hospital records show absence at birth. School records show no attendance. Financial records show irregular support." The judge turned to Mara. "Mrs. Hill, would you like to speak?" She rose. "I never stopped him from being a father," she said gently. He stopped himself. Silence filled the room. Heavy. Final. The ruling favored her. Outside the courthouse, Colin rushed toward her. "Mirror, please. Just talk to me." She stopped. Not because she owed him. Because she chose to. "You asked me to leave like I was nothing," she said quietly. "You laughed. You brought another woman into our home." "I was foolish," he whispered. "Yes," she replied. "But foolishness becomes cruelty when repeated." He swallowed. "Is there anything I can do?" She considered him for a moment. "Learn," she said. "Not for me. For yourself." Then she walked away. He stood there long after she disappeared, finally understanding that apologies do not rebuild bridges burned with pride. Life reshaped itself around Mara. New projects emerged. New partnerships formed. She became known not for her wealth, but for her fairness. Employees described her the same way. She listens. She is steady. She is just. The loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest. And silence, when rooted in strength, speaks long before anyone learns to listen. At night, sometimes, Mara sat by the window, watching the city lights flicker like distant stars. Her daughter slept peacefully nearby, her breathing soft and steady. Mara didn't feel victorious. She felt whole. Somewhere else, Kalen stared at a different ceiling, replaying memories he could no longer escape. For the first time, he understood something bitter and undeniable. Power had lived beside him all along, and he had mistaken it for weakness. Their paths had separated, but the consequences were still unfolding. The story was not yet finished. Months later, the court's final decision arrived. Full custody was granted to Mara. Kalen was given limited, supervised visitation. The judge's words were formal, restrained, but their meaning was heavy. Kalen did not argue. He did not protest. He only nodded, as though a part of him had known this outcome long before it was spoken aloud. When he stepped outside the courthouse, the air felt lighter, but unforgiving. And in that moment, a painful truth settled into his chest. Losing Mara was not his greatest loss. Losing himself was. That same evening, Mara sat at home with her daughter, helping her with homework. Pages turned softly. A pencil scratched across paper. Gentle laughter filled the room. This was the peace she had fought for. Not with shouting, not with revenge, but with strength. Her phone buzzed once, a message from her lawyer confirming the ruling. Mara read it, placed the phone down, and returned her full attention to her daughter. Nothing else mattered more. Later that night, Mara stood alone on the balcony. The city shimmered below, alive, endless, moving forward. She thought of the years she had spent shrinking herself so others could feel tall. She thought of how silence had guarded her strength until the right moment. And she knew, without doubt, that she would never abandon herself again. Kalen moved on slowly. Not upward. Not backward. Just forward. One honest step at a time. He took a modest job far from his old world, where no one knew his name, his title, or his past. For the first time, he listened more than he spoke. For the first time, he weighed his words before letting them fall. Some nights, regret visited him like an old friend. Other nights, understanding did. Mara's life continued to grow. Not louder, but deeper. She raised her daughter with kindness and confidence, teaching her that strength does not always announce itself. At work, she remained firm but fair, respected not through fear, but through integrity. She never spoke publicly about her marriage. She didn't need to. Her life spoke for her. And so the lesson settled quietly where it belonged. Never underestimate a quiet woman. Silence is not weakness. Love without respect is not love. And the ones you mock today may be the ones who shape your tomorrow. The end. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the powerful stories we have coming next. Tell us in the comments, what did this story teach you, and where are you watching from? Your voice matters here. Stay with us and enjoy another story on this channel. We remain your home for powerful African folktales. Love you all. Red Heart.